it.
Why are we going to have Academy on a holiday?
Because nobody goes anywhere. Oh, you're going to go somewhere. Oh, okay. Well, you know, we do the first and third no matter what happens. Storms, hurricanes, you know, birthdays.
We may make an exception.
We're stuck. We've been doing it for 15 years, and we always did it that way. Now it's serious. We're going to see birds. We're going to learn all about birds out here in Lake Hunter. So I'll shut up. Nancy, go for it.
Okay, thank you, Gene. It's good to be with friends and neighbors to share with you my passion for birds and photography. They go together nicely. Before I get started on my photo journal, I'd like to give a shout out to Neil and his wife Ann, who helped with some of the technical aspects of my presentation. Samantha, thank you for coming and setting up the computer, and the Academy for letting me do this presentation. So let's get started on this photo journal of mine of the birds of Lake Hunter. This is a white ibis. This picture was, I took it over at Lake Morton. And what he was doing, he was fluttering because he was grooming. But I captured him at a moment where it looked like he was playing peekaboo with me. So that's the title. Let me also say that please hold your questions to the end or your comments, because I'll get off track and we'll be here till dark and beyond.
Okay.
Okay? And I want to allow time for Debbie. She's got some good information to share about the Bird Club. All my photos that I'm going to share with you today were either taken here at Lake Hunter, over at Lake Morton, that's the lake with old swans, Lake Howard in Winter Haven, where I used to live. There's a couple I've circled B, and some photos that I took at St. Mark's Wildlife Refuge, which is just beyond the Big Bend of the Florida Panhandle. Okay, I'm often asked, why birds? And I thought this kind of answers it. This is the purple gallinule. It was taken out here right in front of the dining room. They're very colorful. You know, what a wonderful paintbrush God has. He's got a wonderful palette of colors. I love to wake up in the morning to the sounds of the birds singing outside my window. I know it's going to be a good day. And they're full of life. They're always, except this time of the year, at this time of the day, they're on the move. And they truly captivate and inspire us. I love this part of the poem by Emily Dickinson. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in our soul. And this is the mockingbird, the state bird of Florida. Okay, a little about Lake Hunter before we get going. Lake Hunter is pear-shaped. The top of the pear is down the north end of the lake, towards where Debbie and Neil live, towards the RF Funding Center. And then it kind of pear-shapes down, but the bottom of the pear by the light, off of Lake Hunter, when we make that turn to go into Hardy Boulevard, and I always say that little canal then, that's the stem of pear. 93 acres. I have no idea what 93 acres is, but I do know that an acre is about the size of a football field. So we got about 90 plus football fields we could fit in our lake. The number of birds at Lake Hunter in the area that you can see is astonishing. Thank you to Joanne Porter who sent me this data. She, and I'm sure with Debbie's help, have identified 90+ birds in and around Lake Hunter and our neighborhood. And how awesome that is. A number of years ago, I was up in the Okefenokee swamp kayaking, and our guide very proudly shared that they had 121 birds. That's only 30 more than what we've got here. We're still counting, aren't we? So it's pretty awesome. And when you think of lake, you think of ducks, but these birds include more birds that are around this area. The bottom picture, that's this little tufted titmouse. He squawks, he's noisy, you know when he's around, and he'll let you know when your bird feeder's empty. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. This is a red belly woodpecker. Both of these pictures were taken in my backyard. I know that it's a male because the red comes down to the bill. If it was female, this red, which almost looks like silk, would stop about the eye. Okay, before we get down to the lakeside, let's look briefly at the skies above Lake Hunter and talk about two of the raptors that we can see. The bald eagle, and this picture was not taken at Lake Hunter, it was taken over at Lake Morton. But during the migration season, we will see bald eagles around. And believe it or not, the migration season has started. Some of the warblers are coming in, and the eagles, Saturday when I was driving south on Harding Boulevard, I saw a bald eagle. But he's often confused with this guy, the osprey. And today when I got out of my car to come here, we often hear the osprey. They let us know that they're around. And here we see them side by side. The books will tell you that the eagle is bigger than the osprey. Well, if you don't see them side by side, that's really not very helpful information. We have the bald eagle, and you can see he's bigger, stockier bird. The osprey is on the right. The bald eagle picture was taken at the Lake Morton Community Church at Lake Morton. You can see he's sitting on part of the cross. The osprey picture was taken on a power pole right outside your house, Kathy. But let's take a look at their heads. That's all white. And that big old yellow beak. The osprey does not have a completely white head. He's got a bandit. He's like the Lone Ranger. He's got a bandit around his eyes. Then look at his underparts, white. So there he is in the air. You see all that white. And then the eagle is all brown underneath. I think when you can see a bald eagle with the sunlight shining through that tail, it truly is a beautiful sight. Okay, the name bald eagle. Why do we call him bald? Obviously, he's not bald. It's from the Old English word B-A-L-D-E, which means white. This is a picture of the bald eagle in the nest tree on Hillcrest that's no longer being used. Bald eagles are raptors. They're found all through North America, so they are found in every state of the United States except Hawaii. Alaska certainly leads the nation in terms of eagle population. If you talk to anyone who's been to Alaska, they're going to tell you a story. Oh, you should have seen the eagles. The data is mixed on what state comes in second. Many people say, and the data changes from year to year, Minnesota, the land of 1,000 lakes. Eagles eat fish. Fish are in lakes. They are going to be near lakes. An eagle will build its nest within 2 miles of the source of food. They're just like us. We brag, oh, I only live 2 miles from Publix. Well, they're going to say, oh, I'm only 2 miles from the lake where the fish is. And then Florida often comes in third in terms of eagle population. And again, it varies from year to year. Polk County often has the densest number of eagles. And Frank, where do we have a lot of? Lakes. We have the source of food. Okay, osprey. You know, we see his little mask there. We know it's an osprey. They build their nests anywhere. They're the ones that have the nests down in Publix, in the lights. There are, what do we call that? Yeah, I know it is the Lakeland Civic Center, as most of you probably do. They're on I-4. You'll see them. They build out in the open. And I'll tell you what wonderful engineers they are. You know, think of our summer weather. We have things called severe thunderstorms. We have tropical storms. We have hurricanes. We have houses that do not survive those storms, but the osprey nests, they will survive. And that picture was taken over on Lake Howard. This picture was taken right across from our dining room, showing the osprey. And what I'd like you to do is look at his feet, his talons. He has a very special adaptation. He's flying along over the lake. He sees a fish. He swoops down, picks up that fish. His head's going this way. The fish's head's going the opposite direction. He has an adaptation of those feet that he can flip that fish around so they're both flying aerodynamically with the heads facing the same direction. I've seen it twice, and it happens so fast, you just go, what did I just see? And they do it like 4 or 5 feet off the water. They make the switch. Okay, I shared we've got 90 plus birds. I'm not going to sit here and show you and talk about 90 plus birds. So I had to narrow down my presentation. And I decided to emphasize the wading birds, because these are birds you can all see as you drive by on Lake Hunter, or you're walking, or Nancy when you're riding in your power cart. This is a picture of a tricolored heron, and I'll talk more about them later, but this was taken at the south end of the lake. And when I say south end, the bottom of the pair of our lake. The wading birds will wade in water or near water to get their food. Okay, some numbers about our Lake Hunter wading birds. In Central Florida, in fact, most of Florida, you can see 6 different varieties of herons. Here on Lake Hunter, we can see 5 of those 6 herons. Egrets, we have 3 different species of egrets in Central Florida. We can see 2 of them right here on Lake Hunter. The same thing with the ibis. And occasionally we see the very beautiful spoonbills and the fugly, ugly wood storks. But I share something beautiful about them at the end. This great egret picture I took right across from the dining room this winter. Okay, let's start with the herons, great blue heron. And this picture was taken across from the dining room. They are the largest heron in North America. They're generally a very solitary bird. You don't see a group of great blue herons, except when it comes to breeding. We had a tree out at Circle B that we called the Great Blue Heron Condo, because at one winter we had 7 different great blue heron nests in that tree. There's safety in numbers. Plus that tree was in the marsh, so that water was like a moat and offered protection. Okay, he does wade in the water to get his food. This picture was taken up at St. Mark's Wildlife Refuge, and there's a picture of a great blue heron, very proudly with the snake he has gotten. I watched him for about 5 minutes. He was walking around with it. He drug it in the water. I think what was happening, he's probably waiting for that snake to die before swallowing. One time at Circle B, I was giving a tour, and we saw a great blue heron. I don't know if it was a snake or an eel, and a lady on the tour insisted that I get off the tram, wade through the marsh wetlands where there were alligators, and go out and rescue the snake.
Yeah.
I failed to honor her request. Okay, what a winner this was on Lake Hunter with great blue herons. Thank you to the watchful eyes of our bird club members and residents who walk the lake on a regular basis. We spotted and documented from the dining room down to the lake, to the light, 5 active great blue heron nests. You know, we had our own laboratory of nest and activity to watch. These are 2, and I'm sorry it's not showing in the picture. It's very blue here, which is telling me they have their breeding colors. The next group of pictures were not taken here at Lake Hunter, but over at Lake Morton. And this is an actual picture. I was lucky. A lot of photography is luck. But the male is mounting the female. So I took bird porn. Gene didn't warn me this is going to be X-rated.
I'm sorry.
In the world of great blue herons, the male goes and gets the materials to construct the nest. And he brings the twigs, the limbs to the female, and she actually constructs the nest. Yeah, that is something. Some birds do it, some don't. I don't know why. Look at the size of that nest. To me, that is not a big nest. And the nests that we saw like along Lake Hunter were not big, you know, like an eagle's nest. To me, that's a very small nest for sized birds. And once they get the nest constructed, they do have their young. This is a fairly young little great blue herons. Sorry about that. Great blue herons have somewhat a unique way of feeding. They will eat, digest, come back to the nest, and the little ones open their beaks and they regurgitate what they've eaten into the mouth of the little great blue herons. I am very thankful I am not an adult great blue heron or a baby. Okay, not to be outdone by the great blues, we have the little blue herons. And they wade in wetlands to get their food, stock for food. Their legs are not black like many of your wading birds. They are a symbol of calm and peace. Great blue herons are a sign of luck. So with all the great blue herons we have on our lake, we should be having a lot of luck. And this is, in some ways, not a good picture of a little blue heron. They're thinner than what he is. Well, what happened? This was a cold winter day, and this is the south end of the lake. And what birds do when it's cold, they tighten those feathers as tight as they can to trap their body heat. We do the same thing when we put blankets on. We put blankets on to trap our body heat. Well, he's all puffed up because he's trapping his body heat to stay warm. But this was taken at a bold cypress down at the end of the lake. He has an interesting bill that's two-toned. We have the light blue at the base and then the dark black at the tip. Okay, when white is not blue, when little blues are little, when they're juveniles, they are white. Oops. These are two juvenile little blue herons, and this is the adult. And if you've driven by on Lake Hunter, just as you make that curve before you get to the light, look at the trees to the right, and there's still some of these little blue herons roosting in there. Notice their legs are yellow. But we have a number of them. So we've had great blues and little blues nesting and creating young ones on our little 93-acre lake. Okay, when calico is blue, when they're about 1 year old, the little blues will start making that transition to their adult coloring. This picture was taken over at Lake Morton. And here's a quick review. We have the adult, well, on your left. It's the adult up at the top, the immature, and then the juvenile. But I'm still seeing the white juveniles on the south end of our lake when I go down to take the light to turn on Hardy Boulevard. Okay, when you want it to work. Okay, the tricolored heron is another one, the third heron that we have. He used to be called the Louisiana heron because he was only found in Louisiana. For whatever reason, he has migrated over east of Florida and up through the Carolinas, so they had to change his name, so they call him the tricolored heron, because he has three very distinct color areas. We have the darker upper, the white under, and then we have this reddish-brown streak. I have a friend who nicknames birds after their appearance, and he calls this the zipper bird.
Long legs, too.
Yep, and this is another picture of a tricolored. These were both taken over at Lake Morton but I have seen them here on our lake. He's getting ready to take off, and you can see the white underpart. And I showed this picture earlier. The tricolored herons will walk in the water almost up to their belly, stalking and looking for food. And this picture was taken down at the south end of our lake. Okay, I could not believe this when I saw this. This is a black-crowned night heron. At the south end of our lake, he's standing on part of the apparatus that controls the water flow, the stillwell. Night heron. He hunts at night. He's active at night. This picture was about 9 o'clock in the morning. Generally during the day, they're in trees, the back of the branches close to the trunk. I have seen the bird club this winter. We saw these guys, or not guys, one across from the dining room stuck in the trees. He may be sleeping. Some people will claim that birds sleep with their eye open. And a close-up showing his black crown, a wonderful red eye that IDs it. He's physically, much shorter, thin-necked when you think of great blue heron. And he can live up to 20 years. The last great blue heron that we have, the fifth, is the green heron. He is a non-wading heron. He will stand motionless, watching, stalking, and pouncing them for food. This picture was taken across from the dining room close to where the dumpster is. But they're small, they're stocky, thick-necked. The coloring, green heron, just think I might get this by the time we get done. This is the green of the green heron. It's a very dark green. On his head is the green. I would think this rough color of the neck and breast is certainly more outstanding, but they call it the green heron. Okay, egrets. Of the three that you can see in Central Florida, we have two of them here on Lake Hunter. Biologically, there's no difference between an egret and a heron. The egrets are generally white or buff in color. They wade in the water for their food. This is a snowy egret hunting for food that I took at St. Mark's Wildlife Refuge. Okay, we have both the great egret and the snowy egret that you can see on our lake. The great egret has that yellow bill and black feet. The snowy has a black bill and very distinct yellow feet. The great is much bigger, but you got to see them together. The great egret picture was taken up at St. Mark's. The bottom snowy egret was taken over Anna Marie Island. Okay, they're blooming feathers, black. These beautiful feathers coming off their backs. We almost lost these guys because of the feathers. During the age of the Gibson girl, the Victorian age, ladies wore big hats and they wanted feathers on their hats. And the hunters would go into rookeries, especially down in the Everglades, and kill the adults to get those feathers. Now stop and think for a minute what that must have been, the sound. The adults are killed and those young are left screaming, yelling. Audubon started as a protest movement against the slaughter of these birds. The snowy egret in flight, I took over Lake Morton, and here again is the picture of the great egret across from our dining room. Sometimes to ID birds we have to know shape. Sometimes the lighting does not permit us to see the color. And the great egret is much thinner and smaller than the great blue. This was taken up at St. Mark's. This guy is a very close friend. During COVID, the worst of COVID, when we were in lockdown, the way I kept my sanity, every day at 4 o'clock I went down to our condo's dock and sat with my camera. And like clockwork, he appeared. He would fly in, stand very still in the grass, stalking. If he didn't get anything, I'd stop for a few minutes, and then he would take off and go 30 feet, land again, and stop. But he really, a lot of days, made my day when I got to see him. And his feathers are just beautiful. His wingspan between 4 and 5 feet. And the snowy egret, you know that long neck that these birds have? There's a reason why. Bring that neck down, coil it forward to get their food. This guy did not gel his hair. It was a very windy day. But this was over at Lake Morton. He's about ready to strike to get some food. You know, once in a while you just have those moments that you don't anticipate your path and you're just so overwhelmed. I was up at St. Mark's, and it was getting about 9:30, 10 o'clock, which is a bad time for photography in terms of lighting. So I turned my camera off, I was going to get in my car, and I saw these 2 white flocks of birds coming towards me. And I thought, what's that? It was snowy egrets. They landed right in front of me. And boy, were they busy, hustling to get food. I just was in such awe. I almost forgot to turn my camera on and take a picture. Then when I did get my camera turned on, I didn't know where to focus. There are various names for groups of snowies. I like congregation. Okay, the white ibis. There's not a person in this room who's not driven down like Hunter and not seen white ibis. They are distinguished by this long, curvy bill. Their body is almost shaped like a football. And the white ibis were the sacred bird of ancient Egypt. This is a sight we've all seen. They are busy getting something to eat. They walk slowly in groups, putting their long bills into the into the ground and in the water, searching for food. They like insect seeds. And when they're in the water, they like small fish. And you know, how many times have we had to slow down or stop? So white ibis is taking control of Lake Hunter Drive as it crosses the street. Okay, when these guys are ready to breed, oh, look at the beautiful scarlet red their bill turns. Their bill and their feet are just a bold scarlet red. That's, hey, it's time to breed. The blue eye really pops with the red scarlet. And around the eye, there's no feathers there, it's bare. Okay, when white is brown. When white ibis are born, they are born with brown feathers. On our right, this is an immature white ibis that I took late afternoon sunlight over Lake Howard. Here again, we have the immature with the adult, and this picture was taken over at Anna Marie Island. And we've seen the brown ones. The other day when I was driving by, I saw a flock, and there was a brown one, juvenile. Okay, this is to me so interesting. White ibis will predict the arrival of hurricanes. The Native Americans firmly believe that the white ibis will be the last one to leave an area when a hurricane is going to hit, and the first ones back. The book, the wonderful book, when their eyes were watching God, it's about the hurricane that hit down in Lake Okeechobee, and the main female character is describing how she's hearing the sound of the animals leaving, the birds leaving. The night before Charlie hit, I was taking down my bird feeders, and all of a sudden I realized it was so eerily quiet because everything had left. I don't know what the reason behind it. I would say it's probably the drop in the barometer, the pressure. So let us all hope that in the next couple months, the white ibis don't leave us. One of my favorite, the glossy ibis. We see him both in freshwater and saltwater wetlands. And interestingly, Jean, in the last 20 years in France, the number of great glossy ibis breeding colonies is really increasing.
Wow.
But you look at that picture, look at those colors. If you see these guys from a distance, they look kind of like a drab brown bird, but when you get up close and the sunlight is hitting them, this is what you get. Like I said, God has a wonderful palette of colors. Okay, talking of colors, our roseate spoonbill. And these pictures were taken right here on Lake Hunter, just up from the stop sign. They are a wading bird. They are in the same family as an ibis. They've got that football shape. Their pink color is derived from their diet. Part of their name comes from their bill, which forms that spoon. And the way they hunt for food, you'll see them going with that bill in the water, working their heads back and forth. The spoon part of their bill has many sensitive nerve endings, and as soon as those nerve endings sense any food, they'll clamp shut and they get to eat. But it's fun to watch them, and they're certainly beautiful to see. I often, if I'm going to see them, and it's water level, I'll see them in the canal because the water level's down. One time out at Circle B, the water in the one marsh, the wetland, was just about down. And I had gone out to check the trails before we closed. There had to be close to 50 roseate spoonbills in there feeding. And you just, and I went back 2 days later to take the photograph, and the marsh was dry and they had gone. Okay, going from the beautiful to the fugly ugly. The wood stork, he is a wading bird. We see him in shallow wetlands. Contrary to all the bird shower invitations with storks on, wood storks do not deliver babies, but they are a symbol of new beginnings in Christianity, ancient Egypt, and Native American cultures. This picture was taken over at Lake Morton, we see the very identifying, those pink, reddish legs, bill. I don't know what goes on over at Lake Morton because, well, I went by yesterday and there were at least 20 wood storks there. When the lake pelicans are there in the winter, you see very, very few wood storks. I don't know if it's a territorial thing, if it's a food thing, but it's certainly interesting. But if you think he's ugly, I used to kayak into a rookery to count wood storks, and you've never seen uglier babies than the wood storks. I mean, they are truly ugly, and they don't improve with age. And part of their ugliness is due to their head, which doesn't have any feathers. Their head and neck are bare of feathers. And this has caused a number of nicknames, flinthead, ironhead, and flathead. That being said, I did see a beautiful moment Saturday with wood storks. I was over at Lake Muir having lunch at the Garden Beef Bistro, sitting outside, and I noticed this beautiful bird come gliding in. I thought, what is that? And it was the wood stork. So in flight, he is beautiful. So I'm doing pretty good on time. Debbie, I'm going to turn it over to you, and then I'm going to ask you questions and comments.
Okay. I'm going to talk loud enough so you can hear me.
Here, just in case Polly has a doodle.
Okay. So I'm here to plug the first Saturday in the month movies at 10 o'clock here in the chapel. We do bird movies on the first Saturday of every month. This coming Saturday, morning movie in September, will be Penguins, the story of the birds that wanted to be fish. It's a 2007 documentary. We'll be looking at penguins. There'll be a reminder in the latest news and also in the Now Read This. We're going to start our bird strolls up again, weather permitting. That means not too hot and not too rainy. We'll be starting on September 21st, which is a Saturday, at the Memorial Gardens at 8:30, and we're going to walk to the end of the spillway and back. You can join us for some or part of that. If you want to join us when we get near the dining room, you'll recognize us because we're not in camouflage, and we'll be on the sidewalk. And then you can leave us then when you reach the point when you don't want to go any further. Let's see. And I am planning on attending some Lake Region Audubon Society birding trips this coming November, December, January, February. So they hold their birding trips on Thursdays, and they usually start in the morning when the birds get up and finish by noon when the birds go to bed. So if you're interested in doing those, and I'll be driving and I could certainly hold three other people in the car, block your Thursday calendars in the morning from like 7 to noon, because I know how quickly your calendars fill up. And that will be on Thursdays starting in November. If you've got any other questions, I'm in the directory. Give me a call or track me down.
Okay. Any questions or comments or stories?
Seeing the osprey's nest out there, they're quite big and elaborate, and I've seen some pretty big ones. But sometimes there's a genetic anomaly. Does a bird ever get born that can't make a nest, and what happens if it does?
Okay. Okay, the question was about osprey and their bird nests. I suppose it's what happens if they don't have that, if something happens and they don't have that instinct to build a nest or construct a solid nest. I would say the osprey itself may survive. You know, that instinct takes over. And it's interesting about nests. They used to say, like, the osprey, the eagles mated for life. It was true love in the bird world. And then they say, oh, no, we're wrong. They mate to the nest, that they will return to the same nest year after year. Now they're saying, whoops, we're wrong. They do mate, that they have studied the brain activity of eagles and osprey when they are mating, and there's a definite chemical change in those birds when they're mating. So now they're mating for love, for life. So love does reign in the bird world. Any more questions or comments?
What's your camera of choice? And when you take a picture of a bird, you don't take one. You take a lot of pictures. That's the secret.
Yeah, exactly. The picture that I started with the white ibis grooming, I bet I took 10 pictures of his activity of grooming. Then you load them in your computer and you say, ah! Yeah. What I'm using right now is a Nikon Z8 mirrorless camera. All those pictures were taken with a lens, my 70 to 400 millimeter lens. For a while, I was using what they call a bridge camera, and that's a camera that it's unbelievable. It will go from 24 millimeters out to 400. The advantage being I don't have to carry a heavy lens, the weight of the lens. The limitation is certain lighting conditions. You just can't get the picture that you want. Any other?
There's another name for wood storks.
Yes.
As you noticed, they're kind of beady-eyed and they're hunched over when they're walking very slowly. They're called preacher birds. And we have a painting our son got us at Mayfair of a group of wood storks, preacher birds, gathered in an area. It's by Ben Essenberg. And on the back, he named it the Presbyterian.
Thank you for sharing that. That's great. Yeah. Yeah, wood stars I find very entertaining. I was up at Crooked River State Park in Georgia taking pictures, and I was coming in, it was about 9 o'clock in the morning, and I was unlocking my cabin. I saw the corner of my eye all these wood storks in the trees. And they were obviously doing their morning yoga. They were doing the stretch. It was just, I stood there and laughed. Okay, any other questions, comments, stories you want to share? Yes, Nancy.
Sorry, I had to step out. Did you mention that you can see green herons over there too? Yes.
Over where?
Occasional.
Yes.
Green heron in Lake Country.
Yeah. The picture that I had was taken across from the dining room, very close to the dumpster. And that first picture was taken there. The second picture was taken over at Lake Morton. He was standing on the fencing for the swans, where they put them. Oh.
Before moving here, we lived on a small lake, and we had a lot of eagles and osprey. And if I heard an osprey screeching his head off, I knew he was being chased by an eagle who was going, just so much stronger flying pattern. And the osprey was carrying a fish, and the eagle would smack into the osprey, who dropped the fish, and the eagle would go get it. And that's our national bird.
Yeah, I saw that at Circle B all the time, and I used to say, the osprey are so dumb. They're dumb, but yet they build those wonderful nests. They're great engineers, so I have mixed feelings about their level of intelligence. But yeah, everybody's got to eat. Whoops. I'm sorry.
That's okay, I don't need the knife. The other thing I want to warn people about is I have seen immature raccoons parading around the lake. Don't go near them because I think that they have this temper.
Okay, I was always taught, I was raised in New Jersey, and yes, we have in New Jersey the mafia and raccoons, that if you saw a raccoon during the day, it was a sign it had rabies. That is not true here in Florida. If you see, because I used to see them all the time at Circle B, and I would say to the biologist there, and he said, Nancy, no rabies. Don't panic. But that being said, raccoons aren't warm and fuzzy. We don't want to go pet the possums.
We had a possum on our back deck last week.
Oh, dear. Possum.
In a nest,
A nest.
under an ornament.
Well, will there be champagne when the babies? Yeah.
About the bald eagle, Ben Franklin considered it a nasty fellow, and he said, let's not make it the symbol because it is so nasty. Let's make a turkey the symbol. So we could have had the turkey, but we've got the bald eagle.
Yeah. And there was, what was it, about 3 years ago, a wild turkey showed up over at Lake Morton. He stayed long enough that they named him. They had quite an election process to name him. And you know what happens when you name something. But all of a sudden he disappeared, I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah. No, the bald eagle, if you've ever heard his call, it's this high-pitched, squeaky sound. In fact, when Hollywood uses eagles in movies, they dub in the sound of another bird, because we can't have our national bird sounding like a wimp, We just can't have that. But, yeah. Okay. All right, we started with stories about birds pooping. I will share another story of bird pooping, and then we will all bid one another a good day. I've been taking pictures of birds for about 25 years. I was over at Lake Morton, focused on what I don't remember, and all of a sudden, a double-crested cormorant pooped on my camera, and my lens. Like the Queen, I was not happy. Thank you for coming. I enjoyed sharing. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming for sure. And don't forget, 2nd of September, even though it's a holiday.
Every day's a holiday. Thank you. Yeah, I hope now